Vivianne Knebel is an extraordinary woman who's overcome incredible obstacles in her life. Born as an illegitimate child in the aftermath of World War II in Berlin, Nazi Germany, Vivianne's early years were plagued by poverty, cold, and hunger. She even reached the point of contemplating suicide. However, a miraculous intervention saved her life and inspired her to move forward. Later, as a teenager, she immigrated to Canada, hoping for a better life. But her misfortunes didn't end there. Fortunately, Vivianne met Wiland, a fellow German immigrant who not only became her husband, but also a catalyst for a change in her life. Together, they built a better future for each other, and Vivianne accomplished incredible feats like running a marathon, learning to pilot a plane, and beating cancer. And today, she joins us to discuss her memoir, Lessons Learned About Life and Love, Living with Intention and with Wisdom from Great Minds. And now that's been turned into a documentary, which is being showcased at various film festivals. How are you today, Vivianne?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me, Toby.
So, what was it that inspired you to write your memoir about your life, Lessons Learned About Life and Love? Because that's quite a remarkable story there, isn't it?
Well, yes, I had really, early on, I really experienced the harsh realities of human life. Being born during Nazi Germany in the epicenter and the aftermath, especially after the aftermath of World War II. And my life has just been a journey that just became better and better. I found out a way to build a new life, that is included immigration to Canada and also walking that long path to self-discovery and self-fulfillment. And as I became successful in the later years, I reflected on my life and I said, my gosh, what a journey this was, and I think I have a story that it needs to be told.
Yeah.
And so I decided to write my memoir, and especially this memoir was dedicated to my husband, who I really owe a great gratitude for believing in me and being the wind beneath my wings. And so I
Yeah.
wrote my memoir for his 80th birthday as a token of gratitude for all that he has done for me. That one person came into my life who believed in me and built me up. And it is actually a Cinderella story. I believe, honestly, I like to believe I led a storybook life, but it is a life I made.
And you say that your husband is the wind beneath your wings. It could be taken literally because you have wings in the way that you did learn to fly a plane.
Yeah. I never thought of it that way. That's a
Yeah.
good way to put it. Yes, Toby, very good.
What was the miraculous intervention that helped you decide to keep moving forward in your life?
That's a good question. I tell you, that happened later on.
Hmm.
My childhood was rough. I was illegitimate. I felt looked down upon. I had every strike against me, really. And then once we immigrated to Canada, there was poverty once again because my stepfather could not find work. And so I joined the workforce at the age of 14 with a special permit because of the child labor law. And I wanted to help my family. And I did go to night school because I believed in order to improve my station in life, I have to do more. So I learned
Yeah.
stenography and typing, and I landed a job at 14 at a dentist. But unfortunately, I had a bad experience there. One of his friends walked in and I was sexually abused. I had to leave because of that. And so I finally landed a job at Volkswagen Sales and Service. And so I worked there in the accounting department. I got that job because I took those night classes, but I became increasingly unhappy. There was no camaraderie, no connection. The people were so much older. I was so young, and I felt so alone.
Hmm.
And I slipped into deep depression. And I decided at the age of 17, that happened when I slipped into the deep depression. I thought my life is never going to be any better. At that age, of course, there's always better waiting for that. I
Yeah.
didn't understand it at such a young age. So I purchased a used car and rented a single garage in a duplex And I heard somewhere that when you close the garage door and start the motor, the carbon monoxide would render you unconscious and you drift into your ultimate end. That is what I intended to do. And
Wow.
then miraculously, as I was waiting for my end, I don't know, maybe I cannot tell you, the time must have been very short because I still was conscious, and the little girl was standing in front of me. She must have been around 6, and she asked me, "What are you doing?" And I told her immediately, "I'm going to wash my car." I just turned off the motor, opened the garage door immediately, and told her immediately, "I'm going to wash my car," and she skipped off blissfully, unaware that she just saved my life. So then I
Yeah.
clung to a glimmer of hope and kept on going, and that is how I continued.
That's quite remarkable. And what advice would you give to somebody who was maybe in a similar situation that you were, and, maybe that girl
Good question.
didn't show up? It could be catastrophic.
Never lose hope. Always believe that better is coming. Life is not static. It changes, even if we don't want it to. But when you're young, you often don't know. Talk to someone. I did not seek out help. I was ashamed. I thought, maybe they will think I'm crazy, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was afraid of judgments. So I didn't turn to anyone, but I would advise them, find a person you can talk to, but always cling to hope. Better is coming. We have to go through challenges. And these are tests for our inner strengths.
Yeah.
Looking backwards, from what I've learned, I can tell you this now. At the time, I didn't know.
And now your memoir has been made into a full-on documentary for us to, I don't want to say enjoy, but certainly watch. How did that actually happen?
Someone picked it up and made a documentary of it because they believed I could, I could help young people from these experiences. Also, it helps us understand the present circumstances of life. We are there's a war now in the Ukraine. And this war has so many similarities with the Second World War, with Hitler's Nazi Germany. So we can learn a lot from this. Young people, it's a learning experience for them. And also, I hope it will develop empathy, because there is a lot of humanity depicted in the film. It is rich in verbal and visual data. So I think it can help others.
Do you think it's going to just reach more people and help more people now that it's on a big screen?
Yes, I believe so, because my mission really is to help others that feel defeated and suppressed, because I've been there. And this is my gift back to society. I want to help others and remind them, what not to do. And I feel like, I'm a conductor and the words are my orchestra, and I make them dance in their mind, all this experience. I have life experiences. You see, many people know a lot, and it's in theory. And theories are great when you apply them, but I have gone through it. I can speak from experience, and I feel I can make an impact and help people, help others.
And do you think the documentary will particularly help young people? Because, of course, you were young when you had this suicide attempt, but also the fact that, unfortunately, a lot of younger people would probably be more likely to watch the documentary rather than read the book. So this is an easier way to get to them.
Perhaps, yes, it'll reach more people even. And also, I think it's not just for young people. It offers people a glimpse into the lives of ordinary people, during that time, how the Germans, that were afflicted by all this conflict, how they dealt to keep with all this conflict, how to keep their families alive and afloat. And so I think it's quite interesting for all people, really.
Yeah.
And also it shows people that things can get better, because I live a life of beauty and harmony. It's a this, I like to reinforce the belief in the preciousness of life.
Yeah.
Make the most of it.
And do you feel that you've made the most of your life, even though you've had all sorts of setbacks? It's still been quite a full life. And, most people, if they were to write a memoir, it would be really boring, but yours is not. So that's an achievement in itself.
Well, in order for it to be interesting, I think we have to go through challenges.
Yeah.
Because this is what life is about. There is no life without pain, struggling, and challenges. This is what makes us resilient, and we can, the beauty of this whole thing is we can train to become resilient. Resilient people are those that go through challenges and overcome them and gain something positive for themselves. You can train to become resilient. And that is a beautiful thing, and to develop that inner strength, because then you can deal with the adversity of this world. But also never forget the beauty that always awaits all of us. There's so much beauty out there. Notice it, notice it. Pay attention and put your best foot forward and put in the extra effort. I put a lot of effort into everything, and I continue to do this even though I wouldn't have to. I could just, we also have to learn to manage the good things in our life, to stay grounded, because a lot of times when you become very successful, you can take that for granted and then go overboard, with you forget where you came from and you're not grounded. And I think you need to stay grounded. And that is also what I pay attention to. I feel like I always take self-inventory. Hey, is this the right track? Is this where I want to go?
Yeah.
It helps. It is great. Really, it is great. No, I definitely have a beautiful life. Gratitude is everything to me. It unlocks the fullness of life. It makes what you have enough and more, And I also encourage people, use that word perfection more in your vocabulary. The feeling of emptiness and misery very often derives from how much you depreciate what comes into your life. You should not depreciate so much. Be appreciative for everything that is good in your life. For every crumb of bread, I'm grateful. Gratitude makes all the negative emotions go away and replaces it with positive ones.
That's an important point, and a lot of people probably forget that, because if they did a study on the amount of time we spend complaining and the amount of time we spend talking about things we're happy with, it'd be completely surprising how much we actually spend most of the time complaining.
You are so right, Toby. And also, I would stress one thing. Let's use that word we instead of me.
Yeah.
Us. Let's think that way. Not always, what can I do for myself? Let's have purpose. In order to have a fulfilled life, you need purpose. Otherwise, it's just another day. It's numbing. In order to have purpose, we need to think, what can I do here? Not just to do something good for yourself, but also for the world around us. So that is what gives life meaning. And I think we all want to be fulfilled. We all want to have meaning in our life, but you have to look for it. You have to do something.
Yeah. And for yourself, when you moved from Germany to Canada, how did you find that change?
Oh, I remember I was 13 years old, and I remember when the boat made its way into the water to cross the Atlantic. I looked back at my homeland, and I did not have good experiences there. It was a tough life there. And yet I cried because I left everything behind me that was familiar to me. But I, at the same time, vowed to one day come back successful. And I tell you, without realizing it, I manifested my life already, right then and there. It was a will to do better.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to have willpower, to have integrity and courage. We have to have courage.
Just to go back as well, even further, when you were growing up in post-World War II Berlin, which side were you on, East or West? And how did that influence your kind of values, and how was your upbringing?
Fortunately, my mother was assigned an apartment by the government because she had 2 children. And no, there was no father. And we had to share that apartment, though, with another couple, which was kind of tough. no warm running water,
Yeah.
nothing like that. It was just really tough. And it was the hunger, and I often became quite resourceful. My mother worked the black market in order to bring some food on the table, and I collected wooden boxes and scraps from the butcher to make soup, so to enable my mother to make soup to keep us afloat. Yes, it was very, very tough, but it made me quite resourceful.
Certainly, I think it gives you that grounding, doesn't it? And maybe when you're older, you appreciate what you've got. So, pretty much what you were saying earlier about how we need to be
Yes,
grounded.
you don't. Yes, exactly. You don't really know what it means not to have unless you've been there.
Yeah.
Unless you've been. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. But we need to, maybe, even if young people today have not gone through hardship. My children were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They don't know what hardship is, and I don't wish it on them. But when you know what it means not to have, only then you can really feel it. But you can make an effort and look at all the people that are suffering out there. Look at the Ukraine. Look at the poor people that have to run for their lives, don't have enough to eat, and have to go through all this. And in other parts of the world, we forget how the western part of the world, how well we live. Let's look at the other people that are unfortunate, and kind of put yourself into that situation. Try to understand how that is, and then it really illuminates, and you can see how wealthy we are. It's not. We are so wealthy.
Yeah.
This time, this world has come into a crisis because people are increasingly dissatisfied. We have developed instruments. We can go to the moon and further, and yet people cannot deal with their own lives. Think about that. That is really impoverished. So let's pay more attention. What can I do here? Turn inward. Once our safety needs are met, we can turn inward and find where the real values are, and find meaning and fulfillment, and get that without having to have a lot of money.
Yeah.
You can be the happiest person, the most content and fulfilled person when you have a full inner life. I can tell you, Toby, I really experience the fullness of life, and I'm so grateful for everything I have. I feel I have a full and truly loved life, and that is a gift. That is wealth. That is wealth.
Well, what are your future plans? Do you have more books on the way or anything?
Yes, I did write a second book, by the
Oh.
way, which is out now. It's called Lessons Learned About Life and Love, Living with Intention and Wisdom of Great Minds. I have studied people that are the philosophers, the poets, which give us great values, analyze that, and their words, they're very inspiring to me. They are like medicine. They are
Yeah.
like my mentors. And I applied their wisdom in my life. And I wrote this book also to help people create a life that is fulfilled and is meaningful. That is full of important teachings, to work hard, to better yourself, believe that better is coming, and always see the good, even in adverse situations. Always find that crumb of good and build on that. So I did that. I wrote that book. I also dedicate myself now to nurturing my husband, who has two severe illnesses, and I almost lost him. But now is my chance to give back, and I like to practice responsibleness, which is really the essence of our existence. To help those that are in our charge, and he is now in my charge, and I want to make life beautiful for him, even during these hard times. And it is possible to do that, with being a cheerleader, seeing the good everywhere, and finding beauty in nature and wherever. So I'm constantly striving for that. I also have a podcast where I have interesting guests, and we talk about all kinds of human emotions. Yeah, so I'm very much involved, and I'm going to turn 80 in May.
Yay.
And I still feel life is just beginning for me. This is just the beginning for me. I started writing at the age of 70
Wow.
after I had I was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, but I'm now cancer free for 10
Yeah.
years. So yes.
Yeah.
So even there, I believed in hope, and of course, I was. They caught it at an early stage, which is very fortunate for me. But even in our struggles, we can have joy.
Well, in the meantime, where are we able to find your current memoir and all your books, and also find the documentary, which is at festivals at the moment? So I take it we can't watch it as a private
Right.
individual just yet.
Right. Not just yet because it's still in the festivals. My
Yeah.
books you can get on Amazon. You can get those on Amazon, and also if you want to look at my website, every information is on my website, which is vivianneknebel.com. Everything is there. Every interview, everything I've done and I'm doing
Yeah.
is on the website.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great to have you on.
Thank you so much, Toby. I enjoyed our conversation very much, and I hope it falls on fertile soil.